Alrighty, hi everyone. We are live at Inforce 2023 in Anaheim with AWS on Air. I'm Sydney Studi, and I'm joined by incident responder Shannon Brazil. We are going to be having a Women in Cybersecurity episode, the first of 4 this conference. We are going to talk about future-proofing cybersecurity. So let's go ahead and jump in.
Awesome.
So Shannon, in your opinion, what are some ways to bridge the gap between experience and education in terms of the cybersecurity field as a whole, like the working field, cybersecurity as a topic, a very broad topic, and academia? Like students learning about cybersecurity, preparing to enter the field, or maybe touching up their skills. What do you think about some ways to bridge the gap?
Yeah, so this is a very interesting topic because there's a couple different things that both the students, the academia, as well as the industry that can help bridge those gaps. One of those is just allowing the opportunities for security professionals to be able to collaborate or provide the academia with information about trends, about threats, methodologies, et cetera, just to keep up with today's best practices, today's ever-growing change within the environment. This can be along the lines of blogs, research, and just open source projects as well. I feel that academia can't just do it alone. They can't. They really need the assistance in helping bridging that gap between the industry's demands. And so this collaboration between the academia and the industry would really help bridge that gap.
Yeah, absolutely, because cybersecurity is an ever-evolving field. We see new things, we see trends, and people staying current on what's actually happening. And there's so many ways to do this. You can do certifications for continual learning, just academia in general to touch up, and just security professionals. I think there's opportunities that are emerging now for security professionals to provide input about those trends. Maybe sharing on social media about what they're seeing, lessons learned. What do you think?
Yeah, so sharing on social media is super big because it gives you a wider gap, or like a wider net to cast towards the academia, especially if you are a trendsetter. If you are a larger company with a bigger following, you have more of an influence on students, of course. And students also, when you're looking at research papers or even reports or even just small posts about something that they found over the weekend sort of thing, it's pretty big to be able to jump in, maybe even copy or test out those findings yourself, and provide some feedback, whether it's networking on any social media platform or just participating in a research would be ideal.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the gap that we're talking about specifically is academia, so students like learning about cybersecurity, preparing to enter the field, and then like the industry, like what the industry is seeing, what people are like seeing on the front lines, so to say.
Yeah.
So as a student, so in academia, what are how do you think students can gain that real world experience before entering the industry?
So, of course, some academia will provide internships or co-op placements and some capstone projects. I think it would be really cool to see the industries take a step into that as well, and being able to provide, specifically around the capstone projects, be able to provide real-world problems that a student can go in and try to solve. Students have this tendency of being extremely open-minded. They're not stuck in boxes. They don't have those walls up when it comes to trying to implement a solution. So I think the industry would really, benefit from a student looking at the problem with fresh new eyes and a fresh new problem with today's technology and future technologies that they're researching or trying to create to solve those problems that we're having some issues with.
Absolutely. Something I'm personally very passionate about is the capacity to learn is such a powerful skill to have in the industry. So because the industry is ever changing, but our capacity as security professionals to keep learning is so important as the industry changes. And that's something that students are really good at and are are like freshly good at, right? And can continue to work on before entering the industry is like, okay, how do I get really good at, let's take like writing software, writing code for an example. How do I get really good at debugging code? How do I get really good at like reading an error message and understanding it? And you can apply that to anything in cybersecurity. So that's really cool. Okay, so let's pivot a little bit to lifelong learning and like professional development. What do you think? Like partnerships, anything, any tips for like lifelong learning for anybody interested in pivoting into cybersecurity or maybe already in the field?
Yeah, of course. Like there's for people that are already in the field to be able to increase their education or even just catch up to the trends, I would suggest some executive education programs. There are some academia out there that will take in professionals, and your hours of working will actually be placed towards your credits towards these executive programs, as well as being able to provide some seminars, creating some workshops, as well as providing some mentorships for students and or other professionals. There's a ton of different mentorship platforms out there. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but I think it's really important that if you have something to say, if you have something to share, if you want to learn or be taught, I believe mentorship is something that can really bring in an opportunity to learn more from others.
Yeah, absolutely. It all comes back to continual learning, doesn't it?
It does.
Like as security professionals, we have to continually learn. We have to get good at learning and being comfortable with it, with never arriving. Like your education is never done.
Yeah, exactly. And it's super important to, if you don't understand something, to ask for help and to seek guidance. There's always going to be somebody that knows more than you. So it's really important to be humble in that situation and be open to other types of solution, because you never know if there's going to be an easier way of doing something. You never know if there's a new technology out there that could make your life easier. So I think it's super important to continuously learn when you're in this industry. It's especially since it's so vast and it's changing every single day. I mean, we saw a ton of new innovations in 2023 where we saw AI, we saw ChatGPT, we saw like a whole bunch of new things that are coming in that are just changing the world. So if you're not caught up on it, I highly suggest, taking you don't even have to take, hours of your day to do it. Just, in the morning with your coffee, 30 minutes of reading up on a new blog or reading up on some research papers or something. Or even just asking a question on your social media just to get an insight on something, that goes a long way.
It really does. And I love what you said about how vast cybersecurity is and just security in general, because you'll never be a subject matter expert on everything. So having a mindset where like somebody is good at this, let me build relationships to talk with somebody who is for a specific topic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know absolutely everything. And I'm assuming that you don't know everything either.
Usually not.
Sydney and I work on some projects together sometimes, and I'll pick her brain every once in a while for some items for sure, because there's just so much to know. It's not possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And like when in terms of experience, like what do we mean when we say experience in the field? Like.
Yeah, so here's something that I love talking to mentees about. Experience isn't just, sitting at your desk experience. It's not just work experience. We're talking about volunteer work. We're talking about even just your own projects at home, your home labs, your home projects, open source projects on GitHub that you might want to contribute to, researching something else, or collaborating with other individuals. That's experience. Being able to say that you had a hand in something, whether it's small or something major like a breakthrough, is really key. We don't want to just see experience, like work experience. We want to see educational experience. We want to see people experience. We want to see, worldwide experiences where you're putting yourself into these uncomfortable situations and growing.
Yeah, absolutely. The uncomfortable situations, like So there's so many ways to gain leadership experience, for example. You don't have to be in tech. Like say you're watching this as a student and you're interested in transitioning into tech, maybe cybersecurity in general, or specifically. Leadership skills will follow you everywhere, and you can get them just about anywhere. You can get them at the job you're currently working. You can get them in your community by volunteering at a food pantry and understanding how it works. What do you think are some ways to get experience that are like non-traditional?
Yeah, especially volunteer work within your community. You never really know what other people are going through, and you never really know what opportunities might lie ahead when you're just talking to somebody and asking them how their day was or bringing them a coffee, right? So I think it's super important to network. Networking is probably the biggest skill that you can have out there, and that's how you're really going to be able to build not only your technical skill, but all your people skills and your leadership skills, because the more people you know, the more exposed you are to the skills that you see are
just like emerging, like trends, emerging skills that you can take anywhere with you, and being continually uncomfortable, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing, right?
True.
It's
true.
So you need to be uncomfortable.
To get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
the norm.
Exactly.
As we wrap up, I think let's go over like some key takeaways, some last minute thoughts. I think mine is lifelong learning. Like getting comfortable with learning always, never fully arriving at like, I'm done learning, like time to go put it in practice. No, like you're always going to learn in cybersecurity, and being okay with that makes you such a strong security professional, in my opinion.
I agree with that. I feel that mine would be use every opportunity that you can to learn, to gain more insights, to collaborate with people. Don't say no to, the boring jobs. Sometimes there's a little hint of a silver lining on those boring jobs that will lead you to bigger and better opportunities and connect you to extraordinary people.
Yeah, that is so awesome. Alrighty, well, we'll go ahead and wrap up. So thank you for coming to the live stream, and please stay tuned for the next session.